Hello and welcome to the Connector Quilt Sew Along Week 3. I am your host and pattern designer, Emily from Homemade Emily Jane. I am so excited to be making the Connector quilt pattern with each of you. During week 1, we picked out our fabrics, and in week 2, we cut them up into pieces so that here now in week 3, we can begin sewing those pieces together to make our quilt tops. If you missed weeks 1 and 2 and you want to check them out, go ahead and take a look at this playlist up here, and that'll get you started on your own quilt along. Whether you're watching this now here with us in May 2021, or if you want to watch this at a later time and make it at your own pace, you are welcome to do that. It is not too late to sign up and participate to win prizes now. The way that I'm selecting prizes is anyone that posts a picture on Instagram using hashtag Connector SAL. You can post a picture of your progress. It does not have to be the exact progress that we are working on this week, but whatever progress you are at, go ahead and post a picture of it onto Instagram using the hashtag, and you'll be entered to win this week's prizes. The prizes for this week are pretty awesome. We will have 11 winners. 10 winners will each win their own 2-yard cuddle cut from Shane & Fabrics. And then we'll have one lucky participant that wins a $25 gift card to Penley Quilt Shop. I will select the winners randomly the morning of Monday, May 10th and announce it in next week's email. If you want to make sure that you are on the list to receive the emails, be sure to check out the link in the description below and sign up to join the Quilt Along. So are you ready? Let's go ahead and start making our connector quilt tops. This week we will be making our half square triangles and our angle units. If you're new to quilting, you should know half square triangles are a very popular quilt block shape. Angle units are something that I made up as a way to teach the pattern in a way that made sense to me, and I hope it makes sense to you as well. So we'll start off by making our half square triangles. The instructions for the half square triangles are written out on page 4 if you have the paper pattern, or page 5 if you have the PDF download. And it'll share with you the instructions. They're written out with some diagrams, but I'll go ahead and share them with you here as well. If you want a complete half square triangle tutorial that'll show you how to make different sizes and whatnot using this 4 at a time method, which is what we use in this pattern, go ahead and check out this link above for one of my videos about that. So we'll get started making our half square triangles, and then we'll move on to how to make the angle units, which use your half square triangles. So first off, go ahead and grab all of your fabric C pieces. Fabric C will be the same shape, it'll be a square. Each size of the quilt pattern, the size of the blocks will be different. So make sure that you are referring to your pattern for what size you are making to know exactly what size finished half square triangles you'll end up with. I am personally making the throw size. So I have here a bunch of piece C in my background fabric. This is White with Gray Blossoms by Riley Blake Fabrics. And then I have here my other piece C pieces in colors 2 and 3. We will sew these together around the edges to make our half square triangles 4 at a time. So what you'll do is you'll go ahead and grab one of your background fabric, color 1, and one of your other colored fabrics, and pair them together and put them right sides together. And then we'll go ahead and at our sewing machine, go ahead and stitch a scant 1/4 inch around all 4 sides of the square. A scant 1/4 inch is just a hair smaller than a 1/4 inch. If you need help figuring out how to get a very precise scant 1/4 inch, I have a tutorial for that. Check it out up here. Once you've sewn around all 4 edges of your square, you'll go ahead and cut it twice on the diagonal. That will end you with 4 pieces. And from those 4 pieces, we'll be able to press those either open or to the dark side, whichever way you prefer. And from there, you will have your half square triangle. You will then trim just a little bit to get it down to the perfect size. And you can find out what size that is in your pattern. Whatever size quilt you're making, the size may differ. Just so you know, the unfinished half square triangle size is the size that you are trimming to. When we sew it together, we'll lose a 1/2 inch of seam allowance, and that would be what is considered a finished half square triangle. So when you're going to trim, you'll trim to the unfinished HST sizes. So for me, I'm making the throw size. I will trim mine down to 3 inches, but make sure that you look at the pattern and do the size according to what size quilt you are making. You probably won't have very much to trim off, if any, but trimming can make it so that your blocks are a lot easier to sew together later on. There are lots of different ways to trim a half square triangle. I have a few different favorite methods that are shown in the video that I have all about half square triangles. The rulers that I love to use the most are these Clearly Perfect slotted trimmers. These allow you to trim your half square triangles before pressing them open, so you have less trimming to do. I also recommend block lock rulers. Those actually grip onto the seams once they're pressed and are really easy to work with when you're trimming your half square triangles. To use the Clearly Perfect slotted trimmers, you go ahead and you line up your seam with a dotted line, and then you take your rotary cutter and you trim off the corners, and then run your blade along the edges of the ruler, and you'll see we just trimmed off a little tiny bits to make it extra precise. And now we can go ahead and press the block open. We will pull the seams apart here and finger press, and then press it with a nice hot iron to set that seam. Once you've pressed it with an iron, you can see the seams lay nice and flat, and we have our perfect half square triangle. You can also press your seams open before you trim it, and you'll see we have like the dog ears here. I'm gonna trim this with just a regular square ruler to show you how it's done. Go ahead and line that seam up with the diagonal line on a square ruler, and we're trimming this to 3 inches, so we'll make sure that that 3-inch mark lines up with the line as well. And we'll go ahead and just trim it on the 2 sides here. And then rotate the block, and we can do the other 2 sides, lining up with the edges of the 3 mark. And now here we are, another way to trim your perfect half square triangle. All right, once you are done making all of your half square triangles, you are ready to move on to the next page of the pattern and make your angle units. These angle units are used as a way to explain this pattern in a nice, easy way, hopefully, but it is important to note that there are 6 different angle units, and you have to look at the diagrams to really know what you're sewing together. You will use all of the half square triangles that you have just made, as well as your color 2 piece F pieces and color 1 E and D pieces. So make sure that you grab those and you're ready to start sewing them together. Follow the diagrams as they're in the pattern. If you're making these smaller sizes, the wall hanging, baby, or lap sizes, you'll make 2 of each angle unit. And if you are making the throw or the bed size, you'll make 8 of each angle unit. I do recommend pressing your seams open here as you're piecing these angle units together, because it might reduce bulk later on in the pattern. But if you really like pressing to the side, go ahead and follow the arrow directions that are shown, as that'll help you reduce bulk as much as possible. But again, I do recommend pressing open if you're up for it. I know for many years in my quilting journey, I refused to press open. So if you are there, there's nothing wrong with that, and I really want you to succeed either way. All right, friends, that is it for week 3 of the Connector Quilt Sew Along. I'm so excited to see your progress as you post pictures this week. Go ahead and drop a comment here as well once you're finished. We'll meet back here next week, same time, Monday morning, to make our stitch and flip blocks and our flying geese. And then we are getting so close to finishing this quilt.